How about you?
Yep.
Good
That's
evening,
right.
everyone, and welcome to the Lebanon Board of Park Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the record show that all members are present except John Lastly. And if everyone has had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Okay, John, is there any old business to come before the board this evening?
Yes, first of all, Kevin Krulick couldn't be in tonight. He is on the agenda and he is at a conference, so he will be moved to December for that presentation of the Stone Eater Bike Park. Deb Schmucker is finishing up and submitting our 5-year master plan for the parks. She's also working on the piers at Conservation Club. That's coming from American Rescue Plan money that the council approved. Working also on a restroom over at the trailhead off of, what is it, Ransdell Road over there by Menards. The trailhead by Menards, that's what I would call it. Yeah, anyway. Also getting together a little map for, Deb Schmucker's working on that for the disc golf course that we're trying to put in at Abner. Old business too, we completed the, and the playground also, looking into that, getting prices on that. We'll have conversations then with the council because the funding will be the next issue that we'll have to address. And before I get all those things put together, I'll run it before the board to get your approval for the different layouts of the playground and such and the piers. Everything will go through you. There again, the Big Four Trail, the good news was it's completed. The lights still aren't on yet, but it is completed. The Parks Department will be working, putting up some barriers around the sides because we're having cars drive on it down off of Southeast Street. We have signage, but people don't always read signs, so we'll dummy proof it like we did on Ransdell Road and there on that other split of the trail. So on Patterson Street, we had to do the same thing. They were driving, so we'll correct those things in-house. But those are the few projects that we have going on. Most of those will be started out the first of the year in 2023, and hopefully we'll complete quite a few of the projects in 2023. That's the old business that I had.
Quick question, when do you think the lights will be ready to be on?
Soon. They're waiting on something from utilities, a part to come in, and that was the delay. All the wiring and everything has been run. We've already had one of the light posts down on the corner of Hendricks Drive get knocked down. That was from a contractor. There again, they're going to replace and fix it. That's something else. Out at Reese Park, they're finishing up the lift station and the other, the water plant down on Abner Longway that we swapped that property. All the landscaping's been installed and the fencing and all that. So that is all pretty well wrapped up. They've got water in it and it's up and running. So they've been really nice to work with. We did each other a couple favors, get things out of the way, and that really worked out. It was a very good with Bowen Construction. Same thing with out at Reese Park with that Courtline crew. They were very good to work with and very respectful of our parks. Any other questions?
Okay, so I haven't been down Noble Street because I know those people did a lot of staging down there, right?
Yeah, they cleaned it all up and seeded it in straw. There was a roller down there that they're going to remove. They haven't removed the roller, but everything was cleaned up. I haven't talked to the neighbor that was right next to it, but it looks like it's very, very clean, and they did drag it and put the dirt back and fixed it up that area. They wouldn't know. I know we discussed about paving, but they weren't not going to pave it. That was through the trail, and it wasn't part of the other. Tried.
I know.
That I will say Bowen that did the water plant, they did pave that area back there that we just discussed, a gentleman's agreement. you're using that road back there in the back of Abner and back of the splash pad to get back to the RC course, so that'll help that to be handicap accessible. They can come right off the drive with a wheelchair and get back to that now.
Well, that's good.
So that's really good, yeah.
One other question, okay. I know you and I had talked a little bit about projects and meeting with the council.
Yes.
Have you, are you going to put a list of projects so all
Yes,
the
I will,
board-
and the information, I'll get you all the information of
Yeah.
where we are on the projects, because that's probably my shortfall a lot of these times, is I get you this out the day of. But yeah, I'll get you an update on what we're looking at, and there again, different ideas for the playground and such, and there again, and the
Abner.
piers, yeah.
At Abner Longley, right,
Yes,
playground?
and the restroom's another one too at the trailhead, but even though American Rescue Plan, that's not coming out of the park levy money, that will be
Right.
coming out of American Rescue Plan, the fishing pier and also the restroom, that was out of the American Rescue Plan.
Right.
The rest, our budget was cut a little bit on our capital improvements, there again, so we'll have to be going to the council, and they do want to sit down with the park board and have a meeting, so we can discuss the projects that we want to accomplish in 2023.
Okay.
Along with that are the 2 pickleball courts that we'd like to replace too, but they're in meetings this week, I think at French Lick or somewhere. They have meetings every year, and I think they're at those right now. But
Okay.
I've spoke to all of them last Monday, and they want to sit
Okay.
down with you and get your ideas and put them on paper. And I'm trying to work up prices right now. It's really difficult to get a lot of contractors out to give prices right now.
Right.
They're so booked and busy, but we're working through it.
Okay, but
Deb
you're
also-
going to give us a list of all the projects prior
Yes, yeah.
to that meeting?
Correct, yeah, and
Okay.
prices, yeah, and right now Deb Schmucker was, she was a little ill, and she said she's back at it today. She said she's on and feeling a lot better, so.
Okay.
She had a little relapse, and anyway, I'm glad to hear that she's doing better too.
Yeah,
so.
I am too.
But that's
Yeah.
all the old business that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, a list prior to that with some, information of why we're doing or thinking of it, so we
Yeah.
all know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under new business, Damon Crease for youth soccer.
Hello.
Hello there.
So hopefully you've got the 2 things there in front of you. I did have one more. I didn't want to just keep wasting a bunch of paper at my office, but does this show you guys? Or-
They'll turn it on back there.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm Damon Crease with Lebanon Youth Soccer Association. Took over as president last year at our annual meeting and just got reelected for another year. So this drawing here, with this part being Maple Drive there, that was initially our draw from I think 3 years ago. Scott Milam, one of the members of the board, one of the high school coaches here locally, drew this up for us. So this was a maxed out plan for Reese Park, if we were able to completely utilize every square inch of every blade of grass out there. I just wanted to show you this quickly because now I believe it's here in this bottom quadrant is where that lift station is. So our maxed out plan is already not something that is unfortunately viable. So you now have in front of you, and this is something that I drew. You can see the difference in quality from Scott and myself on correcting these things up a little bit. But we have basically currently just a gravel parking lot. I think we've had that for 4 years or so, and it's not holding up very well. We're doing our best to keep it in shape. We try to line it. We go out there and hand stripe parking spaces to try to get as many cars in there as possible. But parking is currently our biggest issue out there. So what I have drawn up and some things that we've talked about with some members of the board was that we have a whole section over here that is currently just grass next to the concrete pad that I think would be a viable space for parking lot. We've kind of been using that as a parking lot as it is, but when it's wet out, it's, we try to discourage people from driving on there, ruining the grass, things like that. And then you can also see here in front of where our current parking is, we had the idea of having basically a drop-off lane, because one of the biggest issues we have is we've served over 450 kids this year, 350 in the spring, and then about 100 or so between summer and the fall programs that we offer. Parking was constantly an issue, and then when you have grandparents coming out on Saturday mornings to watch the games, having to park all the way across the street at the Northfield Coin Laundry, and then walk across, and then get all the way to where they're going to the fields. It's just become a really big issue. So I guess my purpose for being here is first and foremost to try to get some form of parking and parking relief out there for our players, for our parents, for our grandparents, for match officials that need to be able to access our fields. When we initially drew up the larger plan, I think there was 155 spots that Scott had quoted from, I believe, Triangle Asphalt here, and I believe it came out to around $1,200 a parking space. We obviously don't have that kind of money, and that's obviously no longer probably a decent quote, because that's pre-pandemic numbers. It's probably much higher than that. But so I counted out what we are able to do with our gravel, and we probably have between 50 and 55 parking spaces. I think if we were able to get that gravel extended a little bit and properly paved and lined, we could probably push that to like 60 to 70. And then hopefully add in the additional parking space in the grass area next to the concrete pad. And I think that would really do a lot to alleviate our parking issues out there. It's obviously a lot of money. And it's money that we don't have, so I'm hoping that the park board will consider looking into and approving getting us some parking out there. As you can see from my notes here, going on like just Google reviews, looking at the park, that is actually something that I added into Google. I don't think it still shows up even as a park, but I added that in there as the Lebanon soccer complex. A lot of the reviews refer to the fact there's hard parking, it needs better parking and actual toilets. It's a nice place, it just needs more parking. From using Google Maps and just estimating, I think we could fit approximately 84 more spots in that space. And then also the whole concrete pad itself, if we were to have that parking lot, we could also just tie in the existing concrete pad for a few more spaces. That's currently where I park some days, just cut through and drive onto there, just to keep out of everybody else's way, so that way there's more parking options out there. And then, I already mentioned the drop-off lane. So that's my primary thing, is parking. The secondary reason that I'm here, hopefully, is to talk about getting a building with toilets, as some of the Google reviews mentioned. On the concrete pad, we had talked about for years tearing all that out and backfill that with fresh dirt and fresh grass and all that kind of stuff. But we've been told that from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, I believe, that we really can't do much to the land because it's entirely in a floodplain. So trying to make the best out of a bad situation, I think that we could just put a building there. We have now, thanks to the lift station, power running right across there, right in front of the concrete pad, that if we were able to put in a building, we could run power. That would give us options for concessions, would allow us to have lights, security cameras to make sure that the fields are safe, make sure that there's not, people out there committing acts of vandalism to our gear, to the park itself. And I think that a building would go a long way to helping us. Right now, we have a barn that was donated from, I believe, one of our board's churches. They built it and donated it to LISA about 10 years ago. It is holding water. It's not watertight anymore. It barely holds all of our equipment. And as we continue to grow, we need more equipment, and so therefore we need more room to store these things. I had previously sourced out just buying a new barn. And that is something that LISA themselves, we could handle ourselves, but that still doesn't give us power and bathrooms. And given that this is a park, I feel like bathrooms is definitely something that we should have out there. This year alone, because of our extended program from spring all the way till fall, we paid approximately $1,100 in outhouse fees. And that's, just money that I would like to use more for the kids versus just making sure we have a place for everybody to go to the bathroom during our regular seasons. Again, as you see from my notes, I don't really know what all my options are. That's why I'm coming here to you guys. I don't know if there's a way to tie it into city water and sewer. I don't know if I would almost rather have a well if that saves money. Obviously, a septic out there probably wouldn't be the most ideal, but if we could have a well and then tie into sewage, again, I don't know what the options are. I don't know what we're allowed to do. But anything that would save money and allow us to have more unlimited access to water, so that way we can keep the fields nice. We can help our players stay hydrated during the hotter days. Things like that would be really beneficial to our program. We also, as I mentioned, need a lot more for storage. Currently, most of our goals don't even fit into our barn because they're bigger than our barn is. Even when we break them all the way down, we can only fit about 2/3 of what we have into our barn, and the rest sits out with the hopes that nothing happens to it all winter. We do our best to contain it and lock it up, but there's only so much you can do when things are just sitting out in a public park. And then onto that one, even if it's literally just building the structure and putting in toilets, myself, the rest of my board, LISA itself would be more than happy to do the rest of that work. I'm sure that we can get donations and things like that to get electricity tied in, as long as we have a structure out there that is secure and would allow us to continue to grow our program. On to the third bullet point there, I do have the land, which again, I know we're limited on. I didn't know if there was a way that we could present an option to do proper drainage, have field tile done, and make it so that it meets any Army Corps of Engineer rules on the floodplain. But in order to max out our field usage, we would really need to try to do something else to, we have a lot of swales out there, a lot of low spots where the water holds in the spring. That if we want not only a safety for our players to make sure there's not standing water on fields, I would like to look into any options that we have on helping to alleviate our drainage issues and getting that water off the fields and into the ditch there where it should be. One of our current secretary and past president, John Limcooler, mentioned that with the additional, if we were to get extra parking lots and things like that, that there would now be extra cars and things to be on the concern for. And then that brought up the idea of more fencing and things like that. I'd love to be able to, kind of like what Lebanon Little League does, where they have the fencing and then they can put all their sponsors out there and have more ways to keep not only the kids safe, keep the balls in the area they're supposed to be in, not going into the creek, not going into the road, just general player safety, but then also make the park look much more purposeful, I think, with its design, having chain link fencing, backstop nets, things like that, to help keep the kids safe, like I mentioned, and just kind of structure it out more, keep the parking areas and where the cars are with a nice barrier between the players. And then, really my last thing under the signage area down at the bottom is the dog waste stations. We desperately need something out there. We have literally called people out as their dog is using the fields and they walk away not picking it up, and people just don't seem to care. And I feel like having at least a place where then if they're not going to, I can go grab a bag and dispose of that safely without the players stepping in it or touching it, or as kids tend to do, pick it up. I think that would be really beneficial, just to have one or two of those stations out, just to help try to alleviate the dog waste out at our parks. Because I understand that it is a park, and so people are going to walk their dogs, and I highly encourage that. I like people being out there. I like seeing people. We've got all those apartments across there that people are always watching us, telling us what a great job we're doing. So I like the sense of the community there. But if people are going to walk their dogs and then not pick up after them, that just causes potential issues for our players and for our program overall. So that's all I have.
John, can I ask you, In our master plan, is there anything about the soccer fields factored into that? I just refresh my memory, I don't recall.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, they're really, we've talked about park grounds is about all we've talked about, but as far as that space out there, we're limited, as he said, in the floodway, flood zone area. Even the tile that he talking about, we're pretty limited. I do agree with him on the paving, that should be done. That's an ordinance that we should be, there again, it's funding, so it's one of those things that keep kicking it down the road. Parking has been an issue. I get complaints from everyone. I'm sure you guys have heard a few complaints too from the coin-operated laundry around the Eagles and everything else. Boy, I don't think, I will say that they've done a great job taking over as president. He's put a lot of money into the facility. If you look, you have new benches, new goals. They keep the property very clean, better than a lot of properties, youth football for one. Picking up after themselves, very conscientious. I was really concerned when Steve Warnoff left Hyatt, and then Warnoff, I think you played for Hyatt, didn't you? Yeah, you little guys. But they've invested their time. I see him out there on Sunday also. I mean, 7 days a week, you can probably catch him and Scotty Milam out there. I don't disagree with a lot of this, but there again, it's one of those things, we can discuss it. I think they'll outgrow this with the growth of the city, so we need to look at property versus investing a lot of money at this. I think 10 and a half acres on a area, I understand the needs for a restroom. I mean, we don't have one at the dog park. We don't have one at the hot pond. Those are in that master plan too. Financing, that's the big one. I think it'll come in a few years, but they've been on the master plan for, 15 years that I've been here, all these little extras that we want to do. I don't disagree. When I came into the job, the youth football already had a facility built for them, so they were operating out of there. They added on, they came to the park board with their color choices and everything prior to adding on. They've invested quite a bit of money like like they're doing. Does that help you at all? Am I answering any of this?
Yeah, it's like,
We keep kicking a few things down the road, and it's all comes down to dollars, basically. We've done a lot of good things.
But could we address the parking? I mean,
I think that needs, Steve does have a price. I do have a price for that. We can throw that in with the conversation with the council.
Yeah, I
Because
think
it
we
is,
should do that.
there again, if we go into that drive that he's talking about, which I think is a great idea for drop-off, because the majority of the families do drop off just the games, and he has been very good to work with scheduling games where they aren't having everybody all at once. Even with that, though, the impact of the aunts, uncles, grandfathers, grandparents, parents, and all that, there's a lot of vehicles all day long, and I think they've done good with trying to work with the neighbors around there. I think you've done a real good job. I don't think any of these requests are way out of line, but it's financing is what it comes down to. I know that they've talked about fundraising and doing some things like that, the lighting, but how much do we want to invest? That's probably a park board decision of what we want to invest in this property, knowing that they will need more land somewhere.
Right,
And,
that's why I'm saying maybe, address the parking right now, since
Yes.
that's number one.
Because I think
okay?
that's good for any park. And the restrooms, I mean, we've been fighting for restrooms to get several of them, not fighting, you know what I mean. We're
Yeah, but
trying to
that's-
find the resource to build the restrooms.
But my thought is, okay, let's address the parking, and then, we need a chance to kind of look and digest this, and so
Yeah.
do you. And then my question was going to be, because this has been in my mind, because I look at this property, if all of this was done, how long would you be there?
If we could max out,
Yep.
if we could max out, I would say that, especially with the new field house going in, I had a meeting with them today about our use of indoor. If we were able to max out this land, we could probably stay there for about 10 more years. That's probably a bit pushing it. I mean, if we continue to grow as we have, that's really the big question. The big unknown is how much more we can grow. We've grown a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. If that continues, it's probably much more conservatively to like 5. But again, I'm very good with schedules. I'm very good at trying to keep, the fields constantly moving. I think 10 years is something that we could shoot towards. But finding more land has also been a very big thing that I've been trying to push for. Before all the state got involved and bought up all the land, I was trying to contact farmers and see if anybody wanted to donate, and all that. I know that's not likely at this point, but yeah, I mean, more land would be the goal. Different land somewhere else, preferably somewhere closer between Lebanon and Western Boone schools. That way we can try to build up both programs simultaneously, as is our mission statement and our ideals for soccer in the community. So,
Damon, can you remind me what ages are in the?
So in the spring, we go anywhere from 4-year-olds to 19-year-olds. In the summer, we did pretty much free-for-all summer camp that's free. And then in the fall, our new program, we're trying to stay out of the middle school, so it's basically 11 and under, so 4 to 11 for the fall.
Okay.
So again, I mean, we still had 130 kids in the fall, and that was our first year doing that. So I think that'll continue to grow. And that one's a lot easier to manage. It's the spring season. We have travel programs involved in that. We don't always get to set those schedules. And so that's where having enough fields to work with the amount of teams that we have at those levels, that's where it gets kind of tricky. With the bigger size fields, we can only get 1, maybe 2 of those fields out there as it is. And then it's just kind of a scheduling thing from there, so.
A couple things really got my attention. First is the safety issue of that's, I mean, we always want kids and families, grandparents, whoever, to be safe as they're attending events, whatever the community event is. But also, I know developmentally, soccer is one of the best sports kids can get involved in, starting at a very young age, just from a developmental purpose, because it uses their head to their toes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just really good for them. And I think it's impressive that you have 450 kids involved. I mean, I think for a community our size, with all other kind of programs that are available and out there, you're doing something. You're meeting a need.
Right.
And I applaud you guys for that. That's a big deal. We need to keep kids active and engaged and working on healthy things, and
Yes.
that's a real plus.
Totally.
That's all aside from funding, obviously, is always a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
I will say the last 2 years also, and Steve Warnoff, when he was president also, they make donations at the end of the season, but the upgrades that they've done since him and Scotty have taken over are just amazing. The goals, the safety, I don't know if you saw 60 Minutes where goals were falling on kids, killing them in soccer.
Yes.
They've taken care of those issues, made it easier. I mean, we're mowing 10.5 acres once a week all throughout the summer. We aerate, we seed, we fertilize, spray for weed control. So we are investing quite a bit ourselves in the property. We just haven't, we don't have the funding to take care of the parking lots and things that, amenities we need. I totally agree with a lot of these things, but we are doing quite a bit. The donations that youth football and youth soccer give, that we don't charge for these uses of the facility either. That's something that, like you said, we need to encourage the kids to get out, whatever it takes to involve, and they can keep their costs lower, so they don't have to charge as much. I think Boys and Girls Club stopped that program in Lebanon, and you guys assumed all those kids too, because we do that in the fall, and it's more structured. They do an outstanding job. I haven't heard any complaints from the coaching staff, anything. They insure themselves. Everything is done on the up and up. I mean, always has been with that, with youth soccer. But I agree, we do need to, safety and everything is important. And we used to be parking on both sides of the street. We stopped parking on one side. The gravel that was done there, that was from Northeast Street when they put that road in, and asked them, they had to get rid of some gravel, and hey, if you'll go ahead and dig that out, will you bring the gravel? So they did that. That was an in-kind and kind of helping them to get rid of their gravel at the same time. So it's ready to be paved, pretty close, but there again, like you said, Triangle Asphalt got a price from them. It's just outrageous, $1,200, and it's gone up from there.
That's
So
a lot of money.
It is. That's a parking space. And there again,
Yeah.
the drainage, we'd have to look at all those things. Wells probably won't work. We have all the amenities right there. The other thing about the parking lot is there's a gas line that goes right underneath that parking lot too. We have to be real careful when we put that in. I don't know, there again, if we can do it, but I'm sure we can, because we got to put the gravel, and they're parking there now. Asphalt's asphalt. But there are quite a few things we'll have to work, but that is a challenge that we probably should have discussion with the council too about helping us with funding on that.
Maybe add that to the list.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great list, I don't disagree, but let's try the parking first.
Yes.
See what we can do with that. The gas line's got me concerned, because I'm not sure you're gonna be able to asphalt over a gas line.
I'm not sure of that either. I believe we can. I think
Is that
we can.
in the grass or
Grindings
on the-
are one
okay.
thing,
I
but
know it's in the dirt right there.
Could we do the parking lot out in the other spot that he was talking about, though,
I was
instead of
gonna
there?
say, I was gonna say if we could address both parking.
Right, but if we can't do the one there because of the gas line, can we focus on the other one
Yeah.
on the other side? And could we do it in gravel
There again,
instead of,
I'm sorry, there again, that's floodway, floodplain, and you can't do anything out there in that area. You can't build it up, which
you can't do gravel
the
either?
swales are there for a reason, and that is because it's in a floodway and floodplain to float in that creek, which, have you ever seen any water in that creek? It's like, anyway, that's
You're talking
frustrating to
about the
me.
grass
Because we could
area?
drain it, like you said, we could put tile in there, run it right to that creek, it'd be easy peasy. But you can't do it because it's in the floodway, flood zone.
In the grassy area where they're
Yes.
parking now. We
Yeah, because
can't-
that takes out space for the fields, actually, with his cutout of all the goals. We had to move the goals around with Scotty Milam to make sure that they fit. And we could do there's different age groups, different size fields, so you have to fit them all in. And there's areas with the swales that you can't put because of the swales.
But I'm talking about the parking.
Oh, parking, yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, okay, so we could,
We're pretty stuck on right there, on there. We were hoping to have actually drive and turn around. I think I gave you an early one a few years back, probably 8, 9 years back, of the parking, and how we were going to try and put a concession stand so they could actually raise some money there too and kind of be self-sufficient like the youth football. But we couldn't, we can't accomplish that because it's in the floodway.
but right now, we
But
can
right
look-
now, we can do the parking where the gravel is, yes. we
But
could.
not where the grass is, where they're parking on
There's
the
we
grass.
can go out a little bit of ways, yes, we can. There again, I don't have that floodway, floodplain. I'm not prepared for that, but
Okay.
yeah.
If
We
we-
can sit down and.
Yeah, if we could sit down and address the parking issue,
Yeah.
because I know, I'm a
I
little
think
concerned
it's
about the
code.
gas line.
You're on the plan committee, I mean, that's a code, I think, that we should have that asphalt within a year, and it's been.
This is way behind, yeah.
Yes, it
It's-
is, yeah.
It's.
My
it is.
fault or whatever,
No, but
we
I
have,
mean, it's-
Memorial Park needs, some asphalt too, it's funding.
Yeah, but we do need to, let's address the parking, and it sounds like we need to discuss a lot and find out on that.
Yes,
And let's do that, and then give us some time to look at this list, also, the rest of it. But I think, number one, let's see what we can do with the parking before we go to the council.
I'm curious, Damon, you said you met with Hickory Junction people today. Was that a favorable conversation as far as the possibilities of you
Yeah,
making?
so I had a hard time hearing you, the air's right behind me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you mentioned today you had met with Hickory Junction representatives. Was that a favorable discussion about the possibility of making use of their facilities when it's available?
Yeah, can you come back to the microphone?
Sorry.
I can hear him.
Yeah, so
Here.
more or less what we talked about there was that they have their own youth programs, and soccer is not one of their youth programs. So he wanted to start the discussion. I mean, it was a favorable starting discussion of a potential partnership between LISA and the new field house. That's really all the more that it went from there, was that they don't have a soccer program and we are, and that they would be looking to potentially partner with us, but I mean, there's still a lot that would need to be figured out on that before we could go any further. But the nice thing about that is that not only with the turf, where we could use that for more small-sided things, and that's what we use for like the smaller stuff in the fall and in winter, that would be really beneficial to us, but also their basketball courts, which I'm sure they will be maxed out for the most part, but if those aren't, we also have an option of futsal, which is basically just indoor soccer with a weighted soccer ball, that Indiana Soccer also runs programs through that we'd be able to
What'd you call
utilize.
it?
Futsal, Futsal. It's basically indoor soccer, but without the walls. It still has a regular border and out of bounds and things like that. But that's one of the greatest urban development soccer programs there are right now is futsal, and Indiana Soccer and U.S. Soccer as a whole is promoting that big time. So that would be a potential option as well to take that to the courts at the Hickory Fieldhouse. So yeah.
Okay. But as of right now, they have no plans of having soccer as part of their program.
It's not part of their
Existing.
Yeah, they'll have the facility, and they would be looking to partner with us to bring that soccer in. Basically, they would provide the facility, and then we could use that. It is more or less what was discussed today.
That's a win-win.
Yeah. But there's still a lot to be discussed, but that would be really helpful, not only in the summer when it's, sweltering hot out, and especially if we don't have water out there. We did our best for the camps to go. We went to the high school fields and filled up jugs of water just to make sure the kids were hydrated. But being able to have water out at the fields would help that a lot. Or just having a nice indoor place with some AC would be great.
Yeah.
And then also in the wintertime, when we're not able to really utilize the fields, to have that option for indoors as well.
Sure.
So
All
yeah,
right,
there's hopefully a lot of potential there.
Yeah. Yeah, what would be the obstacles to have water out there, John?
I would think you'd be able to have, I mean, even, start out with a hydrant, a non-freeze.
Yeah, when we go to power wash that shelter, yeah, we always have to bring our own water, and we do that on a lot of shelters.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I
not-
never, be quite honest, I never thought about any kids getting drinks or overheating or any.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. So
I mean,
good point. And, yeah.
There's
good
one
point.
really easy thing we used to do whenever I went to like soccer camps at IU Soccer, was that they just had like a water horse. So I mean, if we just had a way to hook up water and then have basically a fountain that would constantly be going, the kids could run up, get wet, get some water, cool down a little bit. I mean, just having water out there would be a huge benefit
I
as
can't
well.
imagine it'd be too hard
No, we
to
can-
access, even
no.
if we start out with the
The
hydrant.
utilities all are right there. They're right
Yeah,
off the street.
everything's there.
So parking and water might be two possible
Yeah,
priorities to
That's
start
what I
with.
put.
There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds good for a start, and look into land and everything else. I don't know what the development out south of town, what the plans are there. I know there's acreage. Still don't have a cut and dried number of how many acreage that we'll get south of town in that development that's going in out there. I don't know if that might be a thought process too.
Let us start with the parking and the water.
Okay.
I mean, take one step at a time, and let us work on that, because like you said, we are going to the council to request funds above and beyond our budget for projects. So if that'll work for you, we could start working on that.
A baby step is a step for me, so I'm happy just to hear that things are potentially going to start going out there, even if it's something that I have to continue to work for. I have no problem to continue.
I
to
appreciate
fight
your
for those
passion.
things.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Very dedicated guys.
Yeah, when this program was founded, I was 8. I was one of the first, players in the program. I grew up with it, with Mark Hyatt and the Days, and the Mays, all creating this program for me. And I just want to make sure that it continues and grows and reaches as many kids. And, not every kid is going to go on to become a superstar, but,
No, but
being
still.
out there and being active, learning those skills that soccer can impart. Even the kids, as one of our director of training, Brett, will say, the kids with ADHD, those are the best players. The kids who don't always feel like they have a place, soccer has something for everybody. And whether it's a goalkeeper, the kid who won't stop running up top, or the kid who just wants to sit back and play a little bit of defense. I just really love soccer. I think that it's great for the kids, and I just hope that we can, make that a better program for them.
When you started, was it at Admiral Langley?
Actually, when we started, we were at the fields we're at now. They were the YMCA fields then.
Oh, yeah.
And when Mark Hyatt, he would go out there and hand roll those fields with, he would pull one of the big things to help level out the fields by hand, because that's just the kind of guy he was. And so yeah, we started out there, and then I believe we went to Abner Longley, because that's also where the Boys and Girls Club was, and we were out there for a while. And then when the city bought this land back and then gave it to us, that's where we've been for like the last 5 or 6 years, I think now. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if I win the Powerball.
There you go.
If we win the Powerball tonight, we'll do all this.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, good deal. Hey, we can always hope.
That's right. Hey, never know. Somebody's got to win some point in time.
Yeah, they do. I've got to go get mine. I have them from the weekend, but I didn't want them. Okay, next on the agenda, John, the director's report.
All righty, October was another very active month with many different events. We experienced beautiful weather, which has helped with great turnouts for the events and enjoying all our amenities. That playground is just, I don't think there's ever, that and pickleball been very popular. We have winterized most of our facilities that are not heated. The restroom at Abner and the restroom at Memorial Park by the playground will be closed November 18th until spring. We'll be winterizing those. Those are about the only 2 spots that we haven't taken care of yet. The outhouses will be removed this week, except for the one by the dog park. We leave that because it's right next to the trail, but the Conservation Club and the Hot Pond, there again, no restrooms at those facilities either since we've had them. Anyway, we've talked about all those, just hitting on your point there. Yeah, we need restrooms. All park grounds have had the stumps removed. We took down, I think, 13 trees, or 5 or 6 trees in the past 3 weeks. We've removed all the stumps, but we also put a weed control, sprayed all the grounds, all the 8 parks that we have. Fertilizer, we put that down, spread it, aerated and seeded about 3 weeks later, so hopefully that'll come up. Soccer, we slit seeded it. We did a lot of slit seeding. Just hoping that stuff will look better in the spring, and gets a lot of work. We are continuing to work at the conservation pond by removing the fence and grading, etc. We'll probably be there for a couple more months. The Big 4 trail, as I said earlier, is complete, and we'll be installing the posts along Southeast Street soon because we have been seeing the vehicles. I got a couple texts already this evening where there's cars down there. We started cutting back plant materials downtown in preparation for Christmas decoration installation. We're looking to get everything installed around the 15th of November, so 3 more weeks we should have that. I did want to thank Bert Wisenand and John Elliott as they have started the installation of the tree identification tags in Memorial Park. Patrons will be able to go to the tags and identify trees by using the QR code. QR code will take you to a website with in-depth information about the specific tree. Bert has helped mainstream this project over the past year. I just can't thank him enough, and I think everybody loves it. Nice, educational, and got a lot of nice comments out there. Along with John, they both just appreciate him a lot. They said also, Bert said that today, I talked to him, and we were looking at staking the littler trees, so you can't put screws in those, and we got some stakes that I think will work just fine. But anyway, if he pulled up one tree off of his app that he pulled on his phone and got 3 different names. So if the tree's wrong, let us know and we'll put the right name on it. But I think we're pretty good. He's pretty conscientious. We welcome Nathan Johnson this week from LHS. Nathan is an intern from LHS and will be with us through the school year. He's familiar with our park system because he helped out the last couple of summers with the ARC volunteering program. If you see him out and about, be sure to tell him and his translator hi. He gets a kick out of it. So we really enjoy him. We get him twice a week to be around us, and the guys really like him. He's just a nice kid. Programs and events, our Fall Pickleball League is now over. The winners of the Co-Ed League tournament were Trey Hendricks and Veronica Tubbs. Thank you to all the teams who have played, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring. Rotary's Trick or Trot 5K, which took place the morning of the pumpkins in the park. They had a great turnout. The race, I think about 190, if I'm not mistaken. The race route was in Memorial Park. Our Pumpkins in the Park event had a huge turnout. Again, perfect weather, and saw about 300 people throughout the day. I'd like to give one more thank you to your donors and /sponsors. John Lastly Outdoor Solutions, Becky's Market, they donated the pumpkins, Lebanon IGA with the s'mores, Farmers Bank financially to help us with the carriage ride. You know, we look forward to next year too. Just beautiful weather, and all the park staff that worked there too really did a nice job. Mischief on Meridian had a huge turnout this year as well. The streets were packed and lots of fun was had by all. It's really nice to see that. The weather couldn't have been any better.
Perfect.
Pixie Playhouse hosted their free fall party in Memorial Park. They always do that around the cabin. Had an awesome turnout. Also did a hayride there. The Parks Department provided a hayride. We look forward to having them back next year. Love the Pixie kids and that group. Becky and Rhea and all of them do an outstanding. Vicky do a nice job. The Boys and Girls Club will be hosting their El Gravy race this year on Thanksgiving Day. The race will start and end downtown, but will come through Memorial Park as well. We hope they have great weather for the race. You can find that to join. I think it's $30 for the race on Thanksgiving morning, and that way you can just eat all the turkey, not feel guilty, and all the cakes and all that good stuff, pies. Anyway, yes. That'll be the morning of Thanksgiving. Christmas in the Cabin and Christmas Parade will take place this year on Saturday, December 3rd. Christmas in the Cabin will run from 9:30 to 12:30, and guests can visit with Santa and Mrs. Claus, enjoy hot chocolate and cookies served by Countryside Christian Church, and make a craft. There will also be carriage rides. The carriage rides must be pre-registered for by calling the Parks office. We just put that out and they are filling up. So if you want a carriage ride, we have 2 carriage rides this year. Boy, jump on it because they'll be gone. Just a heads up on that. And the carriage rides are free, by the way, too. So the Christmas, I'm going to repeat myself, aren't I? No. There you go. The Christmas parade will start at 6 p.m. in Memorial Park. The parade will make a loop around the park and then head downtown where Santa will be dropped off to light up the big Christmas tree. The parade will then come back up East Street and end at the park. If you're interested in entering the parade this year, please contact us at 765-482-8860. You can also find the registration from our website, or on our website. I will tell you that we already had quite a few that are already calling. She just put that out on social media again also. And we're working with Main Event Carriages. There's the ones that have been doing the rides to schedule evening carriage rides in the park. They're going to start out, I think, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and just go around the park. I thought it was really nice. We aren't going to charge. They'll do all the charging and collect the monies and all that. And I think it's going to be pretty reasonable, but we always do it during the day. I think it'd be really nice atmosphere to do it in the evening, see all the Christmas lights. We'll have more information on that at the next meeting, so I'll be able to tell you about the carriage rides there. Talked to them when they were out at Pumpkins in the Park, and they entertained the idea, so looking forward to it. And other than we'll be putting decorations up, ho, ho, ho. Yeah. That's about it. Just cutting all that plant material out downtown it works your back a little bit, so need to get Derek out here and help out with that, all the soccer kids. That's all I had.
Okay.
I overheard some people talking at Mrs. on Meridian about the Christmas parade and all that, and they were saying how their kids believe Santa lives at the courthouse.
How Santa what?
Lives at the courthouse.
Yes. That's funny. That's funny. I think Kelly Cook takes care of that. She does a little hot chocolate and stuff, and I think there's going to be some activity downtown. I'm sure Missy Krylik will come up with something neat, but Kelly has always taken that, started that back at the Parks Department. It was just going to be around the park, and look what it's become. And
Yeah,
Kelly was
it's really
instrumental,
grown.
along with the Heine group.
just a golf cart.
They really wanted to do that and put in, I think, 5, 6, 7 floats themselves. So it's grown, and I think it's great. Nice little evening. Hopefully we'll have this great weather, too. And that's all I had.
Okay.
What's that?
Busy, busy.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Guys will be going on vacations here over the holidays, so it'll be a skeleton crew of sorts here and there, but we have plenty to do and maintain, so that's good.
Does
Any
anybody
questions?
else have questions for John or any questions for the board?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If not, if you've had a chance to look at the claims, I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. If there's nothing else to come before the board tonight, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Whoa. I have a motion and a second.
There you go.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.